Hello, hello, and welcome to episode 112 of the Great Canadian Hockey Podcast. I'm James Parisi here with my co-host Aiden Sarah, and buddy, I'm not going to beat around the bush. I'm not going to mince words here. We've got ourselves a new Stanley Cup champion. That
Carolina.
was, yeah, the Carolina Hurricanes have defeated the Vegas Golden Knights in 6 games, and buddy, I've been talking about it with a lot of people, and that was probably the best Stanley Cup finals I've watched post 2013 lockout. I would put that top 3 to 5 Stanley Cup finals I've ever seen. I watched all of it except for 4.5 periods, and man, I was blown away. And this is coming from someone who found himself skipping some Carolina second round. Maybe a little bit of Carolina Montreal third round wasn't high on the priority list. And I often lose some steam in the conference finals and pick it back up in the cup finals because I'm not going to miss the Stanley Cup. But man, this was insane. Absolutely insane. And I have to say, this is not a Rogers glazing podcast, especially for reasons we'll get into later. But they really, really did a good job on the opening montages. Really did a good one. I can't remember which Kings of Leon song they used for Game 6, but man, that was uh, that was some good stuff. Because Aiden, I'm kind of jumping right into it here, but I feel like in the last 5 years we've used a lot of I don't know, not great music all the time. But the this Cup Finals and I think last year's Cup Finals, I started to see a little bit of a return to form, and I'm
Return to
thoroughly enjoying
form.
it.
I cannot say noticed that deeply. The music trends of
I
Rogers
care a
Sportsnet.
lot about the opening montages. That's a big deal for me.
See, you know what's funny? I was about to go back and be like, I remember them from when I was a kid. There are some great memories of watching some pregame hype montages on Hockey Night in Canada. So we're gonna actually park that sentiment, and we'll get back to it later.
Definitely, man. Definitely. Well, before we dive straight headlong into this Carolina Hurricanes Vegas Golden Knights final, I gotta ask, how are we doing, fella? What's new in the world of Aiden Sarah? It's been a good couple weeks since we've been on. A few weeks, in fact. I want to say late May, early June was the last time we were on. I've certainly had a decent amount of stuff going on, but what's new in the world of Aiden Sarah?
Big youth female hockey weekend in Calgary the last 2 weekends. I went to the first one. I missed this last one, but I did a bunch of broadcasting at the first one. Lots of fun, lots of U18 scouts and your college prep scouts at that kind of event. So good to see high level female youth hockey come across my docket. Something I don't get to do very often. Last weekend I was close to 100 Mile House in northern BC camping. One of the standouts, James. Have you ever like fully seen a rainbow start and end like in front of the mountain that you're driving beside? It was bizarre. I'd never seen it like not disappear. Like I saw the whole thing. Yeah, unique experience.
I've seen it out of an airplane window,
Yeah,
but never just boots on the ground in
yeah.
person. That's incredible.
I know it was weird, but northern BC, British Columbia's lakes are the best. So the day trip out to Green Lake was the best day. Um,
Did you
James,
guys go
we're
look for the pot of gold at the end of the rainbow?
well. We could see that there was none. That's the thing.
I don't
We
know,
we could
man.
see we could see it just kind of fade out at the bottom. It wasn't hidden.
Yeah, that's because that fade out was showing you a general area it's inside of because they can't just show you it right there. You got to be
They
able to find it. It was pointing towards it. You guys missed out on a pot of gold.
they I like the they drop in that,
Yeah.
as if somebody spawned the rainbow and the pot of gold.
Yeah. Yeah. Gremlins.
So you,
Not
James.
leprechauns, gremlins. They're leprechauns are just gremlins dressed up in old-timey Irish getup.
Okay, so James Parisi, talk about your newfound career path per se, one that you weren't sure you were going to jump on board with, but you have settled very nicely back into.
Yeah, this is kind of big. It was somewhat official. Well, it was official in paper form when we recorded our last episode, but for me, I'm just too superstitious, and I've got to see something come to fruition before I talk about it. It's just kind of caked into the way I am. Yeah, I've taken on a role as a digital reporter with Bell Media and CTV News Vancouver. It's been really, really cool so far. Actually I knew it was going to be special. I didn't know it was going to be this special. There's a lot of really talented people in that newsroom. A lot of people I've always considered pretty high end for a long time, and I've looked up to for a long time, and then a lot of people that I've never known of or heard of before that I'm so excited to learn from and learn how they operate behind the scenes. It's a pretty big production going on there between TV and digital, and then all of the engineering and everything that goes on in there. I actually, in my first week, I got to hop on CFAX 1070 radio in Victoria and do a live hit for, I'd say they're probably Bell Media's biggest radio station in the province. It was really cool, man. Really cool doing just a quick 5 minute chat talking about a
When
story
was
that I wrote.
when was the last time you did a live hit?
Um, um, Going against protocol at News 11:30 when they needed someone to quickly hop on and tell them what was going on.
Yeah, I was gonna say like that's one of those things that I completely take for granted because my job is literally just all yapping off the dome about what's happening in front of me. So
Yeah.
I completely take for granted like the I remember being at BCIT and I was already doing hockey broadcasts at BCIT, but I even remember like staring at the camera like, oh, it's coming. Like here's the clock. I gotta be ready. It's coming. And so yeah, just even remembering that the yeah, that would be new. That would be new. That would like take me aback.
The coolest thing about that live hit was that I actually my grandma was in Vancouver the night before, so her and I went to a fantastic restaurant I've been to before, Per Se Social Corner in Yaletown. I believe on this podcast I've told a funny story about myself at that restaurant. I'll leave that one in the history books if it's out there. If you bump into me, you definitely should ask about it. But yeah, my grandma and I got a wonderful seafood paella. Oh my God, it was just like amazing. It was like one of those like share between two or three people kind of bowls, and man, it was just perfect. And then yeah, I stayed in her hotel. We ordered room service and had a little movie night, and then
What
I
did you
woke up in the
watch?
morning. This honestly awful Jason Bateman movie that we ended up shutting off halfway through. She was pretty tired, and I had things to wake up for in the morning. I love Jason Bateman. It was not a good
Me
movie.
too.
Yeah, yeah. It was about like a spelling bee, and he's like a screw up who ends up in a kid's spelling bee. It was really, really bad. I think it was called Bad Words. I would probably call it his worst movie I've ever seen. Not that
So
we're
was
at
this
7 right
this
now.
this was like post 2016 2018, yeah?
Yeah.
Yeah, so this was one of those movies that was created with the sole purpose of you scrolling TikTok on your phone while you were watching it.
I don't. TikTok definitely wasn't around at that point.
Oh no, but the era of knowing your audience is only half watching your movies was between like coming up to COVID, it was starting to come to fruition a little bit.
That's a whole different rabbit hole. But yeah,
You don't think this movie was like one of those kind of because that premise to me sounds so much like a comedy that I'd see on Netflix with a 5.0 on IMDb.
I without going too far into it, comedy movies was just cheap and easy to make. And I think it's just one of those ones that the studio pumped out when like actors are looking for work. Yeah, I think it was just like one of those like, hey, yeah, sure, we'll toss it out.
I
It's
was camping. I was camping with all those guys this weekend, and we were talking about movies on the last day. I said Crazy Stupid Love with.
2013 film.
Oh wow.
Yeah.
I said Crazy Stupid Love with Steve Carell, Ryan Gosling has the best third act plot twist in any comedy movie I've ever seen.
Yeah, it's up there for
Yeah.
sure. 100%. Um, but yeah, I my grandma got to watch me because I was in the hotel with her. She got to watch me do my morning live hit. And that was really cool. That was really special. She got to see me do my job and me in a professional environment. So that was pretty sweet. It was one of those little full circle moments. Big supporter in my field in my life, getting to see that. So
I'm gonna
just
say, let's be honest, James. Let's be honest. The supporter in your
yeah,
field in your life.
100%.
Yeah.
100%.
Let's be
Yeah,
real.
like number one. Number
Yeah.
one. We love that grandma of mine.
Yeah.
Definitely gonna go visit her a good handful of times this summer. Go get some lake days in, have some good dinners with grandma. Maybe have a glass of wine with her on the patio once in a while. It's a good, enjoyable time. She likes to watch boats go by, and I like to watch boats go by. It's a good time. But Aiden, this cup final. Wow. I feel like I need to go into it more on why this was so special because I've just glazed it so hard and said, look, this is one of the best ones I've ever seen. And it is. But that breaks down to a lot of reasons. You go back to first game of the series, game one. It ends in a 5-4 Vegas Golden Knights win, but it was so back and forth. This was the kind of game where it was like no goalie was truly safe, and not because they were playing bad, but because everyone else on the ice was just so damn good. I'm going to talk about Nikolai Ehlers a lot as I break down this Cup Finals. That guy was so good. Like everyone on the Hurricanes was fantastic, but you you go back to game one of the Stanley Cup Finals, and it was a back and forth. Carolina up 2-0, Vegas up 3-2, Carolina back, Vegas back, Carolina back. It ends with a Thomas Hertl goal to end up getting the win in regulation. That was probably, for my money, the least exciting game of the Cup Finals, and that to some people was probably the best game of the finals. Just nuts, man. Just nuts the quality of play we were getting. The coaching adjustments on the Carolina end were fantastic. Watching those top end Vegas players in transition was just insane. Like the playmaking you're getting from a Mitch Marner, from a Jack Eichel. We go to game two. That one ended up in a 4-3 Carolina Hurricanes overtime win. Um, Aiden, you talked to me about Brett Howden a lot of times a few years ago. And then I remember you one time saying your dad watching a game Brett Howden played in was like, ah, that's a guy I really wish the Canucks could go after. Dude, you guys were really on Brett Howden when I was like, meh, he's not special. He's not very good. Um, that guy scored a lot of goals this playoffs.
He had more goals in the playoffs than he did in the regular season in
Yeah,
less than half of the games.
yeah, yeah. Barely over a third of the games.
Yeah.
Yeah. Brett Howden scores twice to open this one. Carolina storms back. Mark Stone ties it with just that crazy tip in regulation. But then Seth Jarvis, the overtime game winner. And when Seth Jarvis scored this power play goal in OT, I thought of the NHL doc. What do they call it that they do with the players on Amazon Prime at the start of the year? It's not Coast to Coast. It's Face Off inside the NHL. And Seth Jarvis's whole episode was about not feeling good enough. How he's just fighting this constant thing nagging at him that just doesn't tell him he's good enough. And the noise was loud this entire playoffs about how Carolina's top guys, and specifically Seth Jarvis, were not good enough. They were not doing enough. They weren't pulling their weight. They weren't getting it done where they needed to. And Jarvis scoring that overtime game winner in game two, and just the elation in his face, like you suddenly saw all that joy. And I thought about how much you love Seth Jarvis, and I thought about that documentary episode, and it's just like this started to become one of those situations I've talked about a lot in this podcast where I'm enjoying the storyline more than I'm enjoying the hockey. And I'm enjoying the hockey a lot, but I'm enjoying the storyline because this is a person who has worked his whole damn life for this. and just like the vindication, the weight lifted from him, and just the pride in him as all the boys pile on him. It was amazing. And the way that Carolina crowd erupted, we need to start talking
Yeah.
about Carolina as the best crowd in the NHL.
I'm gonna insert it. All right, listen.
He gets it back along the half boards, and now it's Gostisbehere. Carlson and Eichel, the penalty killers, scores! Overtime winner!
Listen to that pop.
Yeah.
Listen to that pop, man. Like, oh, it was awesome. I love the interview after too. I'm sure a lot of people didn't stick around for his post game interview, but it was Goss Despair that gave him a good pass. He had the primary assist on the Jordan Staal goal in the third period too. But Jarvis is just so fired up, and he's like, "Oh, Ghost is just the best in the world at doing that, man. Just the best in the world." It was just awesome how like how he was so happy that it was put on that plate for him.
And so this is also the point in our cup final breakdown where I need to talk about the rally tarps. Do you know where I'm going with this, Aiden? Okay, so apparently the Carolina Hurricanes media team, who controls the Jumbotron stuff, if they're down by a goal in the third period, or if they need a goal in overtime, they they put on the Jumbotron rally tarps off. And all of these Southerners who've been tailgating in a parking lot all day and eating barbecue and slamming cheap beers take their shirts off and wave them around in the air. And they went a little bit far with it, and you ended up with like 70% of this crowd having their shirts off. And so in overtime, you see Jarvy's buddies, all seven of them or whatever, they've all got their shirts off and they're all waving them in the air and jumping on each other. And in the post-game interview, most of them have their shirts back on, but the one guy doesn't. And Jarvy's going, he's got to have his shirt on. Like he's really just got to get his shirt back on. That was 20 minutes ago, and his nipples are still out. Oh, and it was so cool, man, because like we had that amazing hockey storyline in that game. We had a fantastic game by all accounts. That was like one of the better cup final games I've watched in recent memory. From team performance, storyline, crowd pop, everything. The media coverage on it was fantastic. And then you get the funny, silly little aspect too. And now we're going to Vegas with a 1-1 series. Um,
Oh my
this is
God,
where
you're
I
right. That was game two. I didn't even
That was
realize
game
that.
two. We were having that much fun, and that was only
Yeah.
game two. And then so game three, this is one of the ones where I didn't get to watch all of it. And I was thinking, okay, I'll get to watch a period because I was off work at 7 p.m. It was a weekend. And my buddies were meeting me at the Joey at Bentel One on Burrard. Fantastic spot. Good spot to have some chili chicken and a couple expensive cocktails. And you get a free champagne glass on the way in. That's just it's nice presentation. You walk in and they hand you a glass of champagne if you want it, and you walk to your seat. That's
Are you
just
like at what? The Joey? Really?
every Joey, dude. Every Joey.
Dude, I swear the Joey's in Alberta, absolutely not that. Yeah, I've been to Joey in Edmonton a good number of times, and you're spoiled there. I feel like I've been there
I,
enough
I,
times.
I think Joey started in BC, so that makes sense.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
It's
You know,
just like
you don't get the best with the sequel.
yeah, the spinoff.
Yeah. Okay, so game three. I'm off work. I've been talking to my buddies all day. I'm going to meet them for some appies and a cocktail. I've been following what's been going on in the first and second period because I'm getting there like 5 minutes before the third period starts. And it's 4-0 Vegas. Oh wait, no, I got there halfway through the second. So Mitch Marner had just got his first. Hurdle scored, then Marner got one. And then I'm sitting there talking to my friends, and as I'm ordering a drink, Marner scores again. And then Marner scores again. And I was like, okay, it's 4-0 Vegas. The third period hasn't started. Mitch Marner just had a natural hat trick on top of his power play assist. The series is over. It's done. And then I have this situation where I'm chatting with the server, trying to figure out what beverage, what appetizer I'm gonna order as the third period's going on, and I go to the bathroom, and every time I look away, the Hurricanes score. I looked away 4 times. So I never saw one of those goals as they happened. I had to look back and be like, oh, okay, that's what it was. I actually think I saw the Svechnikov one starting out of the corner of my eye. That was the game tying goal. And that was a huge one for Speccy because that was the similar situation in Jarvis. And we'll talk about Aho later in this series. Like this top line was shut down. They were plus most of the time. Like their advanced stats were good. They were generating chances, but they just weren't putting it in the net. Svechnikov scores that game tying goal. Eventually, we watch a lot of overtime, and man, it was great overtime. It was a great second OT, but Shea Theodore scores the ultimate game winner. Brett Howden assisting on that one. Braden McNabb assisting on it as well. It was a really nice shot. It was nicely placed in front of the net. It was well done, and it was a fantastic watch. Like you watched the Vegas Golden Knights go up 4-zip, Carolina tie it, and then we get double overtime. Aiden, fill me in on what we were missing from that game, if anything. Like this is a perfect game to watch. I think this has everything you could have asked for.
I think the completed comeback is the only thing that comes to mind. When 4 buzz to 4-4, Vegas closed it out.
I like it going the other way.
Yeah, I mean, in retrospect, I totally understand that. If that had been the difference between Carolina winning and Vegas winning, I obviously would have been a lot more choked about it.
Fair.
I was coming back from the arena in Calgary, working all the games. It was 4-0 when I get on the train, and I was like, okay, I'm not putting it on. I get to the end of the train line, and my buddy's coming to pick me up. It's 4-3. So now I got to get it on my phone. We go back to his house, and Svechnikov scores. He ends up going to bed like halfway through the first overtime, and I am so tired. I was staying up waiting for that comeback to be completed, and then, yeah, it was Shea Theodore who put a dagger in my heart that night. But again, in retrospect, you're totally right. Like, no qualms about how this unfolded.
Actually, because it just added to the plot. It made it so Vegas kind of was. It felt like they were taking hold of this series.
Okay, let's also really
Balls
quick.
in the court.
You said what
I
a
know what you're
goal.
going to talk about.
No. But you said what a goal. Shea Theodore pumped that one wide. You remember that, right? He pumped that one wide to the net, and it was Brandon Bussey who pushed hard right to left, and it ends up going in off his left pad after.
Yeah,
What is that goal?
I know exactly what you're talking about, but that's the kind of goal you score in the cup finals. Like that's a cup final overtime game winner.
Kevin Bieksa type crap, man.
Yeah, yeah,
That was-
yeah. But the key part about it here, Aiden just hinted on it. Freddie Anderson pulled from that game. Brandon Bussey goes in, but that's not the whole story to me, and that's what everyone keeps talking about. But Barbashev's knee went through Freddie Anderson's face, and he wasn't pulled from the game, but he immediately started letting in goals.
Apparently, again, I had this written down. Apparently, it was a knee injury in Game 3 that kept him out. Whether it was the knee injury that actually caused him to get the hook, or if it was like, oh my god, he hit his head, and now he's playing bad. We gotta get him out of the
Yeah,
crease.
I would say it's probably a combination of factors, but I think that Barbashev knee through the face, that was like right in the cheekbone. And it's not like Barbashev moves slow. He's like a an ATV where a kid is just handed it. Like you put a kid on an ATV and they just hit the throttle.
Yeah.
They don't ease up, they don't figure it out. They just know this button means go, so they just go. Yeah, that's pretty much how Barbashev skates in front of the net. But I found that that was kind of a heartbreaking moment for me because we had been watching this Freddie show all playoffs, and seeing him get the hook was kind of sad but necessary at the time. But then you take it to game four, Brandon Bussey, he gets the start, and 3 goals allowed on 21 shots. Not bad, but Carolina just dominated this game. This was a Carolina Hurricanes style game where they outshoot the opponent. They dominate the primary and serious scoring chances. They they get goals from all members of their supporting cast. And this is a point in which our breakdown where Brett Howden starts scoring, and we need to start talking about the fact that it's game four, and Jordan Staal has scored in every game of the Cup finals to this point, two of them in game four. And you have to start looking further at it. And in this Cup finals, or in this Stanley Cup playoffs, he was a plus six, 56%, 56.7% on the draws. I believe it was closer to 70% in just the finals alone. He's playing 18 minutes a game, and he's 37 years old. He'll be 38 in September.
Wasn't that second goal he scored in that game the one where he's like on his stomach to finally shove it into? It
Yeah.
was
Yeah,
that was
and that was the
electric.
game winner.
Yeah, that was electric.
Yeah, insane. Just a warrior on wheels, pretty
Yeah,
much.
well, and they were up 3-1 through one, and they
Yeah.
lost the lead 3-3, and then yeah, he scored that in the third period, and that's one of those, man. What that was a that was game four. It was 2-1 Vegas. Like
Yeah.
they lose that game, it's over. I
Yeah.
know they won the next two, but the back breaking end to the potential to blow that lead, that would have been it.
Yeah. But Aiden, you're right. This is the game where everything could have gone out of control. I wouldn't have seen this Carolina Hurricanes team coming back from down 3-1 just for the pure reason that the Golden Knights have this disease-like tendency to just keep coming back. You think you're ahead of them, you think you're away from them, but they just claw back. That's that Mark Stone, that William Karlsson, that Braden McNabb in them. Like that's that side of the Vegas Golden Knights. It's they're hard to get rid of. And Jordan Staal scoring that goal, Ehlers assisting on it, then scoring the empty netter to really put it away. That made things go in their favor. Then you take it to game five, and Aiden, I don't know what the stat is. It's like 70 something percent of teams that win game five in a when the series is tied 2-2 going into it end up winning the Stanley Cup. And that's a bit of foreshadowing, and that foreshadowing was expected. This was a game that was all Carolina as well. The score was 4-2, not too far off, but Pavel Dorofeev scoring a power play goal to open it up. Jordan Staal tying it almost immediately after. But this was the game where Carolina's big boys woke right up, and you really needed it in that game five. Andrei Svechnikov, Sebastian Aho, and Shane Gostisbehere, Nikolai Ehlers. This was their game. Ehlers with three assists, Svechny with the two power play goals, Aho with that goal where Aiden, you did you watch this one?
Game four or
Game
game
five.
five, I was at no, that was a camping loss, unfortunately.
Aiden, when Sebastian Aho scored his goal that made it 3-1, I don't think I had ever seen that expression on his face. It was the expression of a finisher, of someone who is currently in the process of stepping on their throats. Of I don't see any way we're not going to win this thing right now. That was the first time I've ever looked at Sebastian Aho and gone, "Oh, he's one of those guys. Like, this guy is a winner." Because you've watched so many Carolina Hurricanes playoffs where they just didn't have it in those big moments. They didn't have that step on their throats mentality. They didn't have that extra get up and go. But dude, oh my God, you need to go back and watch that Aho clip. It's insane. And I mean, it was his fifth goal of the entire playoffs at that point. It was the second goal of the game for Specchi. It was his sixth goal of the playoffs. Dorofeev scores again to make it 4-2 at the end, but it was an insurmountable task by then, and Brandon Bussey being a big part of it. That was his big game, game five as well. He had a couple saves where it was just like you're not getting another one by him. Those Dorofeev shots were unreal, though. The guy's a pure goal scorer, and I'm curious to see what his ceiling is. But game six, Aiden, this is where everything comes to a close. I this was another one where I get off work, and I uh, I think I was listening to it at work at the very end, but um I went and watched the end of it to Joey again, the other Joey, the Joey Berard, because there's two of them within 3 blocks of each other, even though there's only like four in the city for some reason. Uh,
Sure.
it works.
Sure.
Both of them are absolutely packed, but Taylor Hall scoring the early dagger, Jackson Blake reinforcing it in the second period, Nikolai Ehlers scoring the insurance marker empty netter at the end, Brandon Bussey with the shutout, 4 or 5 amazing saves from Bussey, but outside of those 4 or 5 amazing saves it seemed like Vegas knew they had lost. I think that game five dagger of a game where the big boys from Carolina stepped on their throats, I think that was it. I think you knew what was going on there.
Really
Uh,
quick, really quick. Taylor Hall goal. It's Ivan Barbashev, left wing, middle of the ice for Brett Howden. Howden's got to advance it onto Marner. Pass just closes down. Jacob Slavin moves up. Slavin forces it forward. There's your big moment where the Carolina Hurricanes, that line of Hall, Blake, and Stankoven on that back check, forced the puck free and got it ahead to Hall. And it was the Rasmus Anderson, Noah Hannafin, Barbashev, Marner, and Howden out there for Vegas when that happened. So if you watch through that, it's not just, it's not just Taylor Hall grabbing it and getting the goal. It's the fact that they stole the puck off a 3-on-2 rush. Jackson Blake and Logan Stankoven never stop working. They get the puck on the back check. They get it ahead, and Hall buries it. 200-foot goal.
yeah, that was one of those ones where you see the breakdown and you go, nice, nice. That's some hockey guy stuff right there. I like it. I like it a lot. Aiden, so the game comes to a close and the season comes to a close as the Carolina Hurricanes are awarded the Stanley Cup. Jordan Stahl winning the Conn Smythe Trophy as playoff MVP. Lowest points in the modern era by a Conn Smythe winner, but a big factor in that is didn't Carolina only play 18 or 19 games?
Yeah. What, they
And
lost? Did they lose 4 or 5 games
they,
the whole
they
time?
lost they lost three all playoffs. They went
They did
16-3.
not.
Yeah, the
Oh
Carolina
my
Hurricanes went
god.
16-3.
Oh, dude, I thought Montreal did better. I kind of forgot that it was 5 games.
Dude, Montreal sucked in that series. They had a
Yeah.
half of a good game.
Yeah. That was Detroit Chicago 2008. That's what I'm
Yeah.
calling that. Remember that Darren Helm?
Yeah.
Yeah.
You guys aren't ready yet. Go back to the playground.
Yeah. Yeah,
Yeah.
come back next time.
Yeah. Let me know when you're serious.
Yeah. It might have been 2009. I might be wrong.
I think you're right about this 2009. Yeah.
Yeah, because they
Yeah.
beat Vancouver in the second round.
Because I
Chicago
think
did.
2008 Chicago still had Martin Havlat. Yeah. But yes, the Jordan Stahls awarded the Conn Smythe. A lot of people are bringing up the discussion. We'll get into it a little bit at some point in the summer, as we always do when we talk about Hall of Famers, about whether or not Jordan Stahl is a Conn Smythe, is a sorry Hall of Famer. Two Stanley Cups, captain of a team for a very long time. Not really enough points, but and then that Conn Smythe. The argument is Guy Carbonneau's in the Hall of Fame, and Jordan Stahl has done pretty much everything Guy Carbonneau has done at this point.
I remember like episode whatever 3, we were talking and having like a very real Justin Williams debate, and I feel like Justin Williams and Jordan Stahl, like one's gotta, if one's in, the other's gotta go, and I think Stahl has to follow Justin Williams.
Justin Williams didn't have the 200-foot game that Jordan Stahl had.
Yeah, but he also had more playoff success.
He did have more playoff
Yeah.
success. Yeah. Yeah, it's an interesting one, an interesting debate we'll get into at some point. But speaking of Jordan Stahl, I'm just gonna show this still to Aiden as he grabbed the Stanley Cup. It's not just a lift, it's not a yell, it's not tears. It is a battle cry into the abyss saying, I just did this thing. And Aiden, I think you predicted it. I think many people predicted it. The Stanley Cup first pass to Freddie Anderson
Yeah, and then Taylor Hall.
and then Taylor Hall. Those
Yeah.
guys were getting it no matter what. There was one moment where when Taylor Hall's about to be passed the cup, uh Freddie almost he offers it to Aho almost. Like he's got the two of them there and Aho goes, "No, take it."
I loved Sebastian Aho and Rod Brindamore after that I think after Nick Ehlers scored, like Aho is fully up on the bench, just hugging
Yeah,
Brind'Amour. like his
yeah,
skates are just mangled up on the top. He's not on the bench. Him and Rod. Think about that, man. Like Sebastian Aho was a second round pick of Carolina in 2015. I think 16-17 was his rookie year. And so he's been there. He's been there the whole time. And like
yeah,
you talk about Freddie Anderson, you talk about Taylor Hall, and they've had long careers where this was the cap in their feather at the end of careers where they've Taylor Hall only recently had some playoff forays, but had a lot of individual success on teams that were not quite this. Freddie Anderson's had such a tumultuous career, just injury wise. But Seb Aho's been there since day one, and he's been with
yeah.
Rod Brind'Amour since day one. And so, as awesome as that Freddie and Taylor Hall, getting those guys to check their boxes, they both deserve it. I really like the fact that Sebastian Aho won the Stanley Cup as a Carolina Hurricane. I think that's amazing.
Yeah, yeah, and it just as much, but in a completely different context. I'm just as happy for Andrei Svechnikov, who second overall draft pick, who is at times really not lived up to it, and at times lived up to it. But
Second overall draft pick Andrei Svechnikov now means Aiden's favorite stat continues. 17 of the last 18 Stanley Cup champions have had at least one top two pick on their roster. Taylor
Jordan
Hall,
Staal was a second overall pick.
yeah, Taylor Hall, Jordan Staal as well,
Yeah,
but specifically Andrei Svechnikov was part of the Carolina Hurricanes' dark days. That's how you win a Stanley Cup. You go through those dark days, you draft well, and you work your way up from there. And they did it.
yeah, yeah. Vegas and St. Louis are your two omissions, right?
It's just St. Louis. Vegas had Eichel.
Yeah, but if we're going on the second part of your sentiment,
Yeah.
yeah,
And Vegas, to me, like the caveat of Vegas is that they did really focus on drafting a lot of assets at the beginning, and then they just moved it. So the fact
yeah.
like they had gone through the draft to like get Nick Suzuki.
Would you rather have Nick Suzuki or Max Pacioretty right now?
Oh, Suzuki by a mile and a half for sure.
Yeah.
But
You didn't know he was going to be that good, though. Nobody did.
yeah, yeah. Well, and I think they traded Suzuki instead of Cody Glass. They picked Glass 7 picks higher than Suzuki in the same draft.
Yeah.
And that was just a mistake.
That hey, a lot of people were willing to make that mistake.
Yeah, I never loved Pacioretty. So I was biased at the time that I thought that was a bad deal.
I mean, he was a pretty insane goal scorer. He was automatic.
Yeah, lots
And
of
that
power
guy
play
was
goals.
and that guy was a winner and a leader.
Yeah,
So,
lots of power play goals.
yeah. And
Yeah, he survived. He survived wearing the C in Montreal, which not a lot of non-French dudes can say.
yeah. But yeah, Aiden, we've talked a lot about the Carolina Hurricanes here, and I think looking at this Vegas team, there are some question marks. There's a big Dorofeev contract talks in the near future. Rasmus Anderson's a pending free agent. You got to wonder what's happening there. I would think he's going straight to free agency. There's a couple more smaller question marks. You got to wonder what's going to happen long term with a few players, but I don't see any reason that Vegas can't make another strong push in the playoffs next year. I don't see any reason that the Carolina Hurricanes can't make a strong push next year with another 12, 13 million in cap space. And the only players they have to re-sign are, I think, Nick Delorier, Mike Riley, maybe. So just
Wait,
depth guys.
you're asking about Carolina?
Yeah.
Oh,
Carolina, I think that's all they've got.
Dude, yeah, they've done an absolutely brilliant job, and we were talking about that before. And it's the roll of the dice on guys like Jackson Blake and Logan Stankoven, to give them what, like 5, 2, and 6 respectively. Apparently, Jesperi Kotkaniemi is a quote-unquote buyout candidate. If I am the Vancouver Canucks, I am going over there and saying, what will you give us for taking your quote-unquote buyout candidate?
I don't think Carolina has any need to pay assets to do that.
Yeah, I mean, it completely depends on what they want to do with that cap space. I am very much of the opinion that you don't retain on guys with like 3 or more years left on a contract, because that can just come around to screw you over. Or sorry, you don't like hold on to a cap for longer than that if you can avoid it.
Yeah. Yeah, that's an interesting one for sure. That's one to look at. But Aiden, that was the Stanley Cup. That was the 2026 season. We've had a lot of award winners. Zach Werenski won the Norris since the last time we chatted. Nikita Kucherov won the Hart Trophy since the last time we chatted. I don't really think there's any other big ones that we didn't cover.
Yeah, I just love going through this though really quick because you get guys like Dan Vladar who got two fifth place Hart Trophy votes.
Yeah.
Love whoever on Colorado thought Gabriel Landeskog was deserving of a fifth place Hart Trophy vote.
If you look at it, someone filled their ballot with four Colorado players.
Yeah, I guess so. Hey, you
Yeah.
must. Yeah, you got to surmise that.
Yeah.
Um, la la la. Gonna do a.
You gotta wonder if that person's getting a vote next year.
Yeah. Okay. I want to know if whoever like put McDavid fifth the year he had like 64 goals and 153 points still has a vote, because that was my first thought, was they shouldn't. Cale
Yeah.
Makar ends up finishing second, which I think is a little high this year. I think Dahlin and Sider were probably both
In the
just
Norris
as good
Trophy.
as him. Yeah.
Yeah.
Werenski deserving winner, man. Love it, because he's deserved something like this for a while. So
Dude,
I'm happy for him.
I think if Makar played the full season, he probably would have got it.
Yeah, I mean, again, we've had this conversation on the pod that perennially Cale Makar is the best defenseman in the world.
Yeah. So I
Period.
think him getting the second, I think him getting second place makes a lot of sense.
Yeah, Nick Suzuki, awesome, man. Holy crap, 100. I don't want to.
Back to the Hart Trophy.
Okay. No, I was gonna go Selke because he's a
Oh,
101 point Selke winner. I cannot remember the last time, if at all, we had a 100+ point player win the Selke Trophy in the same year. That is crazy. Like I
that's a
remember
good question.
Ryan Kessler won it for Vancouver when he had a monster season. He had 41 goals, but he still only had 73 points. Like it was, yeah. So for Suzuki to get the very deserving nod as the best defensive forward in the NHL, and also be as offensively productive as he was, part of the reason he probably got one first place vote for the Hart Trophy. So
Yeah.
whoever, yeah, cool. Probably a Montreal guy. I know Montreal guys like to fill their ballot out with more Montreal players.
Barkov's been like 10 over a point per game with a Selke win.
100 points,
Well, on
close.
pace for 100.
Yeah, close.
Yeah. On pace for like 93 actually. But yeah,
Yeah,
I would call it same realm.
yeah.
Because I would say Suzuki's currently doing what Barkov does, but with less bite.
Less bite and more like being able to pass the puck off to a guy that just rips it into the top corner. I don't think Barkov ever played with a goal scorer like Caulfield.
Sam Reinhart just scored 50.
He did, but still, I don't think Sam Reinhart is as automatic a goal scorer as Caulfield is. As far
Reinhart
as
had
like,
more goals that season than
oh,
Caulfield
yeah,
did this
yeah.
season, though.
I know, but I would almost chalk that more up to Barkov. Like
Yeah.
I'm giving Barkov more credit here
Right,
because
right.
because Suzuki's 100 points. He got so many assists. And that's nothing against him. It's just a whole. It's kind of like Lane Hudson, right? Where you do so much damage, but a lot of it is just on the power play, getting the puck to one of your shooters.
So, Aiden, I think it's time we move on a little bit here from this season because as we talk about all these potential transactions, I'm thinking about that as next season or as the off season because it's time we go through a lot of quick hits and rumors, trades, transactions, things we think are happening, things that have happened, things that could happen. Because we're very close to the NHL draft for 2026. It's Thursday, June 18th, as we're recording right now. The NHL draft is set for, I believe, what is it, 5 p.m., something like that, Pacific, on June 26th. That's a Friday. I will definitely be working during that, but I'll be keeping an eye on what goes on. Yeah, we have a lot of
Hey, you
transactions
could
going on
James,
this
you
time.
could like swing a Vancouver story easily.
Oh yeah,
Have
yeah.
a bunch ready.
I'll probably write like three stories.
Yeah, well, I mean, Caleb Malholtra drafted to his father's new team has got to be there. You could easily get some
I'll bet
guys.
you money right now that doesn't happen.
Oh yeah, I listen. I will be furious if Vancouver passes Ivar Stenberg for Caleb Malholtra. I know there's obviously a lot of other things that could happen that drop Malholtra past three, but personally, like I like him a lot. I would take him third if McKenna Stenberg is 1-2, but if they end up married to this guy, I will be pissed off.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't see it happening. I think there's probably three other players they take instead of him, and
Ooh.
I think we've just ended up a part of the media circus because that's the easiest storyline. I think the algorithm really favors that one, especially with all the clicky people in Vancouver and how they interact with social media.
Yeah, I understand why you're saying that, being as tapped into that world as you are. I've seen a lot of external validation that that is very much a strong possibility,
Hmm.
separate from what you're talking about.
Yeah. But let's talk transactions here. We've had a few trades already as the playoffs are done, and teams that were out of the mix actually had the opportunity to trade a little bit earlier. It's very rare, but once in a while teams do make a trade while other teams are duking it out in playoffs. But the first of these deals, this one's John Chaika's first as the general manager of the Toronto Maple Leafs. This one sending Joseph Wall and what was it? Joseph Wall and something to Philadelphia for uh
You want me to read it?
yeah, I've completely lost it
Okay.
because I remember not thinking this was good.
Yeah, Toronto Maple Leafs pick up Emil Andre, defenseman, Samuel
Oh, people like
Ersson.
him. People
Yeah,
like
I
him.
like him.
Right. Yeah.
Samuel Ersson, goaltender, and a third round pick for Simon Benoit and Joseph Wall. Would you like me to go on this? Because I'm going to give an optimistic Toronto outlook rarely, because I actually do not think this was the Philadelphia fleece that everybody seems to perceive it as.
Give me 60 seconds on it.
Okay, Emile Andre is what Toronto is lacking on their back end. Simon Benoit was one of a lot of very solid, tough two-way defensemen for the Toronto Maple Leafs. But Toronto, especially as Morgan Riley has declined like absolute crazy, have a distinct lack of puck movers. Emile Andre can be the number six to start off, but he slings the puck around really, really well. He can oftentimes peel out from behind his own net and one pass through the neutral zone. It's yeah, he's a good defenseman. Hopefully he ends up being like kind of like Rasmus Sandin was supposed to be in Toronto, where you're a second pair guy, maybe second power play unit, but he passes the puck really well. I have friends who are Toronto Maple Leafs fans. I know you do too. A lot of them are really, really high on Dennis Hildeby, man. So the way I
Yeah.
look at this
Yeah.
is kind of that Erson and Erson and Stolars are maybe to start your 1-2, and that doesn't look very good. But like a lot of people in Toronto think Dennis Hildeby is a starting goaltender by the middle of next season. Joseph Wall's very injury prone. We've known that for quite some time.
So good when he's on though.
Yeah, he is so good when he's on. I think
But there's
he
a
and
lot of
Dan
the
Vladar. Yeah, oh yeah, I think him and Dan Vladar will make a really solid 1-2. Philadelphia wins this trade because they got the best player, but I also think Toronto addressed a need in a puck moving defenseman. They pick up Samuel Ersson, who is not going to command as much time in between the pipes as Joseph Wall will, and jam up the pipeline if they really think Dennis Hildeby's the future. And you pick up a third round pick. I still think Philly wins, but I don't think Toronto lost, really. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I think I think you hit the nail on the head there. That was a really solid breakdown, especially when you take the goalies out of it and you just consider this an Andre for Benoit deal. This was actually really nice piece of asset management.
Yeah, and like
I
if
think
I'm
the
Vancouver, I'd rather have Simon Benoit because you've got so many like young
and
puck
if
movers.
I'm Philly, I also want Simon Benoit more
Yeah,
too.
yeah. But Toronto has like so many guys that can do Benoit, right? And it's funny, it's literally like the opposite of Toronto 3 years ago where they had none of those guys and Simon Benoit was like a second pair guy because they they were missing so many. They've picked up Tanev, they picked up Carlo, like they picked up McCabe. There's guys there now.
Yeah, I know exactly what you mean. I think they probably go after one more
I would.
defenseman of this type, especially when you consider the style of player John Chayka usually favors. He's very analytically driven, focus on guys who are producing shots on net, guys who are producing offensive zone entries, which you're just not really getting out of a lot of those other players we were just talking about. Not that those are bad players, but you can't just have 20 of the same thing. It just doesn't work like that. There was another deal though, another one that I am looking forward to chatting a little bit about. This one, Ross Colton getting traded to Nashville. The interesting wrinkle here is that Chris McFarland just left Colorado. He was their general manager as Sakic was the president of hockey ops. Chris McFarland kind of came up through the ranks and did a fantastic job there. I really, really liked what he did with what he had. And he goes and takes on the full role, the I am the decision maker on all accounts role in Nashville as the president of hockey ops and general manager. And he goes and acquires Ross Colton from the Avalanche. And that's really interesting to me because I don't know, a year and a half, 2 years ago? Yeah, 2 years ago, he went and picked up Ross Colton as GM of the Avs. So the exact deal was it was Ross Colton going to Nashville. Yeah, so the exact trade was Ross Colton and a depth goaltender named Isaac Posh. I don't really think he's a factor in the deal. It's just kind of a contract going to Nashville in exchange for goaltender Magnus Krona, who was actually signed to play in Sweden for about a year and a half. He won a NCAA national title as the goalie for Denver, and two third round picks. One of them was originally Colorado's. Krona's rights will be retained by the Avalanche. So if he ever does want to come back, the Avs have first dibs. But it's cap space. It's a cap dump trade. It's exactly the kind of deal that a team like that, a team that just won the President's Trophy, has at that time of year. But it's flexibility that I like to see. The next deal on our list, this one's I love seeing these trades around draft time, Aiden. I love seeing teams take a little bit of a swing like that, especially San Jose with the big prospect pool they're building. So they sent pick 20 to the Buffalo Sabres in exchange for defenseman Michael Kesselring and pick 27. So, I mean, you drop 7 spots. The guy you want might not even have been, he might be ranked 30.
Yeah, how many times, James, have we seen like a team have a guy ranked, in the 10 to 20 range, and it's like, yeah, you should have gone 40th overall. Like, yeah, like this happens. This totally happens. So I think this is a win-win because Buffalo potentially are gonna like end up snatching up a nice little piece that has dropped maybe from the early teens to 20. San Jose, if they had a guy on their board that they knew was going to be available.
San Jose is picking Ryan Rubrek with pick 27.
Rubrek, ooh, interesting. Kesselring was also leaving Buffalo, and everybody knew it. Buffalo didn't have any leverage. I think it would have been like a third-round pick had they not done this. So yeah. I know this looks like, oh my God, you gave up so much to move up 7 spots. Maybe you did, but it was still better than whatever the maybe late second rounder they would have got. Maybe.
Yeah, and the nice thing there is they clear up a little bit of cap space with Kesselring. Kesselring was a healthy scratch during playoffs, even though I think he is a really solid defenseman. Like I would want to have him on my team, but he's going to get a chance to play a lot of minutes in San Jose, man.
I also think insulating Sam Dickinson with Michael Kesselring is a great idea.
Yeah, sure. And then so they're gonna go in with Dmitry Orlov, Sam Dickinson, Michael Kesselring, Chase Reed, and Shakir Mukhamadullin.
Oh, my brother. Oh, if it's Chase Reed again, I will be the happiest man in Vancouver if Ivar Stenberg.
I think Chase Reed's nasty.
Yeah, I think Chase Reed is extremely overrated. He is so good with the puck on his stick. But he moves it east-west so much. He does not have a good enough like direct north-south game, and I would really love to see him.
I think he's got the talent to overcome that in the right environment, though, and by all accounts, that is the right environment.
Yeah, it is. He's been playing in the OHL. You're right that San Jose will definitely give him time to develop. I just think he looks a lot better because of how much he manages to find time on the puck to kind of move it through the neutral zone that I don't know he has at the higher level. So I'm really interested. It's kind of like Tynan Lawrence, right? Where we were talking about Tynan Lawrence in a specific league, and I was like, let's just wait. I don't think he's this good. Let's wait until he takes a step forward, and that step forward ends up, bringing him back down to reality. So I do wonder about Chase Reed at a higher level if he is going to continue to rely on an East-West based game.
Fair. I think he's nasty.
Yeah.
Going to the Buffalo Sabres, as we're already talking about them right now. Reports are that top eligible free agent forward Alex Tuch and the Sabres aren't close right now in negotiations. I still think this one maybe gets hammered out. I think it's one of those 11th hour kind of things. And then again, more news out of Buffalo. Bowen Byram, who just had a fantastic season, putting up more than 40 points with no power play time, really. And he was one of their best players in playoffs, I think, night in, night out. The guy was a difference maker, whether it's shutting down the opposition, being a big boom kind of player, like an exciting player, or making something happen in the offensive zone. I loved everything the guy did. And apparently teams are exploring a Bowen Byram trade. Now that's from Darren Drager of TSN, and I don't know exactly what that means. There wasn't a lot of elaboration on that. That could be more salary cap cleared for the Alex Tuch deal. The Sabres do already have Dahlin, Owen Power, and Matthias Samuelsson as left-handed defensemen. And Samuelsson does want a little bit more of a role, and he signed at a very reasonable cap hit for a decent amount of time. Bowen Byram's only got one more year left on his deal, and he's making more than Samuelsson. So it does make a decent amount of sense to sell high on him. You got him 1-for-1 for Casey Middlestat. So I think that that's found money there.
And
Um,
not to mention that Jason Zucker and Jordan Greenway are both in the last year of contracts that pay them collectively $8.75 million. So, like, Tuck is getting that money if he signs. It's just, it's not next year, right? Like, they still have those
yeah.
two guys under contract next year. So you move Byram, you have Tuck in there, and then, like, it's not like you're slammed in 27, 28 because, like, yeah, they're going to have to re sign Zach Benson and Jack Quinn, but still, like, Benson will get the Stankoven, I think, 6 mil. Um, Yuri
Yeah.
Kulik is up as well. Jack Quinn will probably get the Jackson Blake, right? Low fives, if they go long term with them.
I want to play devil's advocate on Tuck though, on what the Sabres should do. I think you send Tuck packing and you keep Byram. Alex Tuck was quite easily the second worst player on their entire roster through the entirety of playoffs. You finally get to playoffs, and the guy who is the playoff built and playoff experienced player on your roster does absolutely nothing the entire time. And you can't even look at me and say, oh, well, he was just getting shut down by the opposing team's best players. No, they deployed him differently in so many situations, and he still did nothing. He is the prototypical power forward who is supposed to help carry you in playoffs. If if you're not doing that, then it's not really happening. Yeah, he's 30, and so you're going to sign him until he's 37, and power forwards usually start to degrade around 33, maybe 34. So, I mean, yeah, I think you let him go. And I don't think that's bad asset management by not trading him before. You were going into playoffs and you were committed to going into playoffs. You had to show your boys you were all in. What you would have got in return for him is what you would have spent acquiring a player of his caliber at the deadline if you didn't have him. So it's just the taxes and trials of being good. That's how it is. You take some swings and you take some misses. You can't manage every asset perfectly. You had a second round playoff run. Damn right it does. Damn right it does. That's 40 goal scorer Jeff Skinner to you. Yeah. Yeah, that was sick. Next up, before we go to a couple big ones, I'm gonna circle around to a couple smaller things. Um, I'm going to talk about a few coaches right now. John Tortorella not returning to the Vegas Golden Knights. Henderson Silver Knights coach Ryan Craig promoted to the big club instead. People have said on a few little media platforms I've listened to, paid attention to, that if they weren't bringing in Torts, they were just going to bring in Ryan Craig and promote him anyway. So apparently this was always the plan. I do wonder if that would have been different if Vegas won the cup. I have no idea. I do think Torts coaches in the NHL again. I don't know if it's to start next season. I do wonder if it's the same thing as we just saw, as a team right before playoffs going, well, we're in, but we don't like what we have going on, and just bringing him on. I wonder if he's a gun for hire, a post-deadline acquisition, if you will. And yeah, I do hope we see Torts again. I'm a John Tortorella fan. Always have been, always will be. I like the way he breaks it down. I like the way he talks about things. And I like how much he cares about his players. Any of his former players on any podcast you will listen to will tell you that they haven't played for Torts since 2007, but he still gives them a call every summer and makes sure they're okay. That's a good person right there, from what I believe and from what I see. And there's a lot of
Two
haters out there, but
Well,
yeah.
hey, two types of coaches, right? Two types of like really hard coaches. Two types of not player friendly coaches, and you've got John Tortorella on one hand, calling his ex players of decades past to make sure that their careers are going away that they're happy with, or if he can help them. And you've got Mike Babcock, who Mike Commodore has repeatedly, every single time he can possibly do it, has talked about how he's the worst human being in the world. Johan Franzen has talked about how Mike Babcock is the worst human being in the world. And I say that because that's where we're going next.
Yeah. Yep. Mike Babcock, there's a lot of smoke around him being the next coach of the Edmonton Oilers. He was just cleared by the NHL after an investigation about his dismissal, resignation, removal from his extremely short-lived, not even through the preseason head coaching job with the Columbus Blue Jackets, in which he was asking players to show him their phones and their photo galleries, among other things. We don't know what else went on there, but we do know that the NHL has cleared him. Does that mean he is the next coach of the Edmonton Oilers? Not necessarily. That just means that they could hire him if they so choose. Now, the Oilers general manager is Stan Bowman, and this would be very old boys club of him to bring him on. I do not think it's a coincidence that Darnell Nurse has now requested a trade.
Yeah.
I'm
Okay.
not throwing
Really
it
quick on
out
the.
the I'm not throwing it away completely. This is very conspiracy theorists, but what if they just let out that they want to bring in Babcock so that Nurse requests a trade?
No, because they told Darnell Nurse that they're trading him next year because his no movement clause in his contract expires this year.
Mm.
So they told him they were going to move him after this season. So Nurse requested a trade because he still had the no movement clause, so he could still veto somewhere he didn't want to go.
Right, that makes sense.
Mike Babcock. Okay, here's really quick the other thing I'm going to throw in there. Everybody in the regular listening sphere of either the podcast or my own incoherent yapping in real life has heard me complain at nauseum about how the ownership of the Vancouver Canucks is what has held it back and what is actively causing them never to win anything. Ownership meddling in Edmonton is, per Elliot Friedman, what has driven this Mike Babcock decision. So, as I am ever sitting here complaining about the Vancouver Canucks ownership, the Oilers fans, if Mike Babcock turns out to be a train wreck disaster, you know who to blame.
Daryl Cates.
Whoever it is,
It's Daryl Cates.
I believe you.
That's what the rest of the article said.
Okay, I
Yeah.
believe you.
Yeah. That's an interesting one for sure. One thing I really, really, really want to dive into that all of the insiders leaked out. It was a deadline deal that did not happen, but apparently was right there. Matthew Nyes was supposed to be traded from the Toronto Maple Leafs to the Montreal Canadiens, and Brad Treliving missed filing the trade by 1 minute. The return would have been Alexander Jurovsky, a extremely highly touted Russian prospect, a first rounder, and another prospect who most people have surmised was defenseman Bryce Pickford, who I'm a big fan of. I really like Bryce Pickford. Aiden, can you tell people who Bryce Pickford is?
Not really.
Okay.
Yeah, I haven't
Wow.
watched him enough.
Wow.
Alexander Zhuravsky is, yeah, totally, absolutely just a pure, pure skill. Like, I referenced Goon this morning to James in a text message. I don't think he got it. But watching Zhuravsky play sometimes is like those stupid highlights of Xavier Laflamme that they ran in Goon, where it's just like 100% pure hockey talent, just skilled as hell. That's Zhuravsky. He's 19 and he needs to figure out everything else about his game other than just the absolute game-breaking goal-scoring ability. Kind of reminds me of Pavel Dorofeyev at that age, except he's a little bit more Ivan Demidov in the playmaking aspect. Bryce Pickford scores a lot of goals, man. That's what I remember because he was a Medicine Hat Tiger with Gavin McKenna. Medicine Hat Tiger again this year with those two Ruck brothers. So I haven't watched him play too much just because I haven't been around the WHL this year as much as years past. But I know this guy puts the puck in the net a lot.
45 goals in about 55 games, and I believe he was CHL Defenseman of the Year. He's also nasty in his own end and smart in transition. He was a third round pick of Montreal after scoring about 20 goals in 47 games in his draft year, and he has grown since then. So I think this is one of those ones where you are Montreal Canadiens scouting and you were going, we were telling you he's good this whole time. We just needed a little bit more. We
I'd
need a
love
little
to
bit more
be.
opportunity and
Oh
growth.
man, you have no idea how freaking insufferable I'd be being that vindicated scout in the room all the time.
Yeah, you'd get fired.
Yeah, I'm sure.
Yeah, you'd be done.
I'm
You'd be
sure.
done. The old boy club would be like, dude, shut up.
Yeah.
You gotta simmer down.
Well, and again, everybody in my life will also tell you that it is the attitude of mine that I cannot make people listen, but I can sit there after and write and be like, should have listened to me. Listen to me next time.
Yeah. Yeah, definitely. So this was an interesting one, and I don't know if the comments that Kent Hughes had for Brad Tree Living were internet generated and rumor mill generated, but all of the memes and pictures of it were saying that like wasn't it something along the lines of if you still have a job by this summer
Yeah,
or by the draft, you
yeah,
better push that trade through.
yeah. You have to honor this.
Yeah.
And he didn't have a job
No.
anymore.
No. So, how confident are we that every step of this actually happened?
Oh, I have no idea, man.
Yeah, that's the thing.
Yeah.
It's everyone's saying this happened, but I'm very 50-50 on it.
Yeah, because it makes no sense from Toronto's point of view. That's the first thing I said to you was I'm sitting here saying they should trade Austin Matthews. Part of the reason I'm sitting here saying they should trade Austin Matthews is because I think they should start building for a future. That very much involves Matthew Nyes because he's
Yeah.
so much younger than everybody else on that Leafs roster by a lot.
It also could be that they see Jurovsky and Pickford as having a bigger impact on the organization than Matthew Nyes does.
And if that's the case, then it is absolutely time. If Jurovsky and Pickford are the players you're looking for, it's time to have some serious Austin Matthews and William Nylander discussions.
Well,
Austin Matthews
for
first
sure.
because of
But
the contract
those are
status.
bigger, harder,
Yeah,
more difficult deals to make,
yeah.
and this was the deal
Okay.
that was available to them.
Speaking of hard, big, difficult deals, the Iser plan in Detroit status report.
Yeah, Dylan Larkin has requested the trade. It's gone quite public. I believe from everything that I've read was that this isn't new. This request was made in-house some time ago.
Last
Probably,
season.
yeah,
Yeah.
and it's the kind of thing where trade or not trade, contract negotiations weren't always pleasant between both sides. And
Larkin
then
was
this
also
and then this
apparently.
organization has not made the playoffs since his rookie season, and he is now 30, and he's now seen what it's like to win after winning a gold medal. And this guy is sick of it. And to be quite frank, I would be too.
Yeah, apparently he was really, really sad when Tyler Bertuzzi got traded. That was when people in his circle started to be like, "Oh, okay, maybe Maybe there's an eyebrow to be raised here.
Well, because him and Bertuzzi were sick together.
Yeah, and they were tight. That's the other
Yeah.
thing.
Yeah.
The only thing I wanted to go to was Elliot Friedman and Jason Demers talking about how this won't be the last time we see a trade request this summer. So I'm going to throw this clip in here. I'll let you ponder it.
I just want to know what happened in that Team USA group chat during the Olympics, because I feel like this might be the first domino to fall, because you're hearing a lot of them start talking about, you're hearing some rumors about Hellebuck and Brady Tkachuk. So
Yep.
what's kind of going on, and what shifted after the Olympics? Because you're starting to see a lot of these guys command a little bit more, I don't know,
Control. Well, I absolutely think the world is a different place. I'm older than all of you guys combined, and like there was in that day in the '80s when I grew up watching hockey, if you wanted to trade, you sat there until they traded you, and even when you guys were playing, the teams had a lot to say. Yeah. I think now it's different. I think that someone said to me, the Larkin report won't be the last one you have. There'll be more.
Fun summer.
And they said that also, like, even kids now who are like 21, 22, if they're not breaking through at the NHL level, they're asking for trades. Like, look what Texier did last year. He terminated his deal to go somewhere else for short-term less money. But I really do think that two of the biggest moves of the last 3, 4, 5 years were Matthew Tkachuk saying to Calgary, "It's up to you, but I'm not re-signing," and Quinn Hughes out of it, because people saw Matthew Tkachuk go to 3 Stanley Cup Finals and win 2. They saw how happy Hughes looked in Minnesota, and they're saying we can do that too.
They need one of those things to go somewhere and have it go terribly. You're like,
Okay, so yeah, they talked about Zach Werenski. Connor Hellebuck, quote unquote, would welcome a trade. He likes the idea of Florida. Zach Werenski would welcome a trade out of Columbus. James, this is a trend. Okay, would you like to tell us very quickly? Because you were more apprised in this era than I was. So I'd like you to very quickly tell me about what the quote-unquote Russian factor used to be in the NHL draft in the late 2000s, early 2010s.
Well, the worry was that you would pick a highly touted Russian and they would show up in the NHL sometimes right away, sometimes 2 to 3 years after being drafted. And they would stick around for a year or two, and they would, in many cases, fizzle out and go back to the KHL. That was a very big one. Think Nikolai Zherdev, among many others.
Nikita Filatov.
Yeah, that's a really good one. That's a really good example. Yeah. Sadly, Columbus ended up on the wrong end of a few of these. Not really a great scenario. In the early 2000s, it was a massive thing. If you go look at drafts from like 98 to like 2004, there's going to be a lot of Russian names that you've likely never heard of if you're on the newer, and I say newer, but I mean like under 25 side of things.
Okay, and really quick, James, like you're right, and that's what I wanted to hear from you. But it's continued.
Let me finish. Another part of it was that as soon as free agency used to be very different, and you got unrestricted free agency a lot later in your career, but it used to be a thing that as soon as they hit unrestricted free agency, you would have every Russian that was between 30 and 33 years old populating the New York Rangers, New York Islanders, and LA Kings rosters. Oh, and Florida Panthers. They liked that one too.
Mm-hmm. So we saw I think the other thing I want to bring up here is you're right that it was such a 2000s thing, and it happened. It did happen, and like I said, I can pull examples from my hockey watching career as well. We also ended up seeing guys like Vladimir Tarasenko drop hard in the draft and then be an absolute warrior for the team that drafted them, win a Stanley Cup. Evgeny Kuznetsov, exact same thing. Should never in a million years have dropped as far as he did in his draft. He was a late first rounder, absolute warrior of a Washington Capital. They do not win the Stanley Cup without him.
His video with his selfie with Gary was hilarious.
Yeah.
Kuznetsov's selfie with Gary Bettman. Oh my God. Yeah.
Okay, so quote unquote Russian factor. I'm changing this up, James. We got to talk about the American factor now. We got to talk about how the Philadelphia Flyers, at this point, I'm sure, will never walk into a draft interview and be reminded of Cutter Gauthier and touch that player ever again. Like the clip that we just heard, Jason Demers brings it up. Literally the first thing he said, quote unquote, I'd like to know what happened in that Team USA group chat this summer. Because you've got a guy like Matthew Tkachuk who has successfully weaseled his way out of the team that drafted him and gone to a team that had success. 2 Stanley Cups for the guy, a lot of success. And so we're at the point again where there's insinuations that Dylan Larkin isn't the last trade request we're going to see this summer. Connor Hellebuyck and Zach Werenski as well. But I'm saying this almost as if, like, again, Philadelphia drafting Cutter Gauthier, perfect example, perfect example of a guy that you pick up, you're hoping at that 5th overall spot, this is going to be a franchise cornerstone for you. Cutter Gauthier, we saw in Anaheim, clearly has the ability to be a franchise cornerstone player. Excellent in his draft year, excellent in the World Juniors after his draft year. And he just looks Daniel Briere in the face and tells him, I don't want to be a Philadelphia Flyer. Trade me somewhere else.
He wanted assurances that he was going to be able to hop in and play right away.
Yeah, if I'm jumping in, James, like if I'm in those draft interviews, like that is so high on my list. A guy that's actually going to be committed to having pride in that jersey they throw over their shoulders. At having pride in the city they play for, having pride in the fact that a historic team like the Philadelphia Flyers saw it fit to draft you 5th overall.
Another factor in that was just on this Gauthier thing though, like Briere was hired the summer after Gauthier was drafted, and the people who drafted Gauthier are not the people who are in that front office whatsoever. The people who drafted him very well could have made him all of these assurances that he's going to be able to hop in right when he wants to. And then Briere was like, absolutely not. I had to work for everything.
Yeah. Oh, hey, listen. Cutter Gauthier is the most recent highly touted example. The one that I've been making for a long time is Adam Fox as well, right? Adam Fox was a Calgary Flame and a Carolina Hurricane. And everybody kind of knew how good this guy would be. But he sat on his butt, stomped his feet, and said, no, I'm going to be a New York Ranger, or I'm not playing. And he got what he wanted. He got what he wanted. He got to be a New York Ranger. So to me, as we're going into the NHL draft, I don't get this vibe from Chase Reed that he's going to be this player. I'm not throwing Chase Reed under the bus here. I'm not saying Chase Reed, like he's been an OHL stud. He's done so much for the Sioux Greyhounds. Like he's an awesome. I've heard a lot of good things out of Sault Ste. Marie about Chase Reed. But if I'm in an NHL draft setting, man, I'm walking in and I'm Winnipeg. I'm looking at a guy like Colby Barlow and I'm saying it's the class act you are that's going to get me to draft you versus the other guy Winnipeg drafted the year before, who was Rucker McGroarty, who did the same thing, who stomped his feet and said, I don't want to play here, at 18 years old and weaseled his way out. Keep this in mind. You'll never hear about this though. Right? It's easy. It's easy for media in not just Canada, media in the States, media in the West to just throw Russians under the bus and to make it seem like Evgeny Kuznetsov, and we've seen it recently. We've seen Ivan Demidov, we've seen Matvei Michkov be treated like they're toxic assets, like there's a stench coming off them. I would be so much more confident drafting Ivan Demidov or Matvei Michkov than a guy that I'm worried will be Cutter Gauthier. And
this is the NCAA rule for rights that the NHL has put in, though. This is baked into the system and has been for a long time.
It's baked in after you play a certain amount of time. Like your eligibility to be an RFA is still like 4 years if you go the NCAA route, right? Like Chase Reed.
If you wait it out, then you can just be a UFA.
For 4 years.
Yeah.
But
if I'm
drafting a guy in the top 10,
if I'm an
18-year-old
kid who's now getting NIL money from a top club, and then you get to hang out in college for 4 years, why the hell wouldn't I exercise that right?
Dude, if you're a top 10 pick in the NHL, I'm just not ever thinking you're going to spend 4 years in college, right? Like that is just...
If I have the opportunity to choose where I want to go, I'm going to take it.
As a college kid, yeah. Yeah, like
100%.
Gavin McKenna's at Penn State, right? Like he got that option to choose.
Yeah.
But he's going to go first overall, and Gavin McKenna will play for the Toronto Maple Leafs, right? I've every aspect of faith in the world that he will put on. Like, Toronto's going to pick him. They're not going to make the mistake of letting best player available go, and he will be a Toronto Maple Leaf. Him being at Penn State will have absolutely nothing to do with whether or not he has the pride in that jersey, right? And the team that, you know, there's a lot of good players in this NHL draft, just like there was in Cutter Gauthier's NHL draft. That if I'm Toronto, I would much rather take, if I'm of the impression that he's not committed to my team. I would take Ivar Stenberg if I thought Gavin McKenna was going to spend 3-4 more years at Penn State and then tell me to go to hell when I want to sign him to my team, right? Like, or even at the end of the day, right? Like you've got.
Aiden, you know this isn't new, right?
Oh no, it's not. It's not. It's just becoming so
Justin
pervasive.
Schultz did this.
Yeah. Oh, I remember Justin
Kevin
Schultz did
Hayes
this. I'm
did
not
this,
just
Blake
talking
Wheeler
about.
did this.
Oh,
Eric
Kevin
Lindros
Hayes
did this.
Kevin Hayes was one of those guys that wasn't a high. I'm not talking about the Justin Schultz who's like a third, fourth round pick.
He was an early second rounder
Yeah.
and a highly touted defenseman.
But he actually didn't get signed. Like, he wanted to get signed by the Anaheim Ducks, and they kept sending him back over and over and over again. I'm not talking about guys like Jimmy Vesey. Jimmy Vesey is a great example.
Yeah.
Jimmy Vesey just didn't get his ELC, right? And then he ends up signing for the New York Rangers because he was a UFA, just because they didn't sign him. I'm talking about
the Avs didn't sign Will Butcher at
Yeah.
first, and then when they wanted to, he was like, absolutely not, and he went somewhere else.
Yeah. I'm not talking about your late round picks that the team has already put aside. I'm talking
Blake
about
Wheeler was the
players.
fifth overall draft pick, and he refused to go to Phoenix.
Yeah, I'm talking about players here that you've had a significant investment from the team. There was a significant investment from Detroit and Dylan Larkin, and Dylan Larkin put in his time. I don't think Dylan Larkin requesting a trade is necessarily putting Dylan Larkin, the man, as part of this.
Okay. You went into this discussion from Dylan Larkin and then landed on like Cutter Gauthier and Rucker were already stamping their feet. So what I thought you were getting at was like Dylan Larkin was the problem here.
Oh,
And,
no.
I
I'm talking.
absolutely think there's nothing wrong with anything he's doing.
I agree, because you know what? At the end of the day, too, I think my biggest thing. I've had this conversation a lot, James, and I think my biggest thing is in the NHL, you have always earned the right to call your shots, and it's called unrestricted free agency. That is the right you earn to call your shots. I definitely do not like what a Matthew Tkachuk did. It made me sick to my stomach that the Calgary Flames had your rights, and you just, instead of earning your way to unrestricted free agency so you can call your shots, you just said, no, I'm not letting you exercise your right to sign me. The Dylan Larkin, like he's an UFA. Austin Matthews in 2 years will be a UFA. I'm going to have absolutely nothing against Austin Matthews. Like, he's got this year at $13 million. He's got next year at $13 million. If he wants to leave the Toronto Maple Leafs the next summer, I've got absolutely nothing, period. Nothing against Austin Matthews, because he put in the time. He earned this. He earned the opportunity to sign in a place that he gets to choose. Matthew Tkachuk at 24 years old did not earn that. He was a restricted
You're saying players
free
can't
agent.
request a trade? And
I'm not
force
saying
their hand
players-
when they have leverage?
I'm not saying they can't request a trade. I'm saying Matthew Tkachuk, James, would not have played for the Calgary Flames. He would have sat there as an RFA and not played. That is my point.
The exact statement was that if they didn't trade him, he was going to not sign a contract and
Yes.
hold out after the following season.
Yeah, because he's an RFA.
Yeah.
But a UFA, July 1st comes around. Austin Matthews, if Toronto Maple Leafs don't sign him, Austin Matthews has earned the right by playing for your team for as long as it takes under the collective bargaining agreement to become an unrestricted free agent. That is very different than an Adam Fox or a Matthew Tkachuk, who ends up, you're the team that drafted you still has every right in the world to you. They're still entitled to your services, because that is what this league has always been. And James and I talk a lot about hockey, and a lot of times I'm coming at it through that lens of, Like I hate other North American leagues and the way they operate. I freaking I'm so built around soccer and football and this type of player. Kylian Mbappe is the best football player in the world. He hasn't won anything, and he is a toxic cancer in his room everywhere he's ever gone. I'm looking at a team a team like Paris, who had Kylian Mbappe. What Kylian Mbappe did to Paris was he sat there, and he just let his contract run out because he knew he was joining another team for free. And instead of Paris getting the 150 million euros that they should have got for him, he ends up walking away for free. And that is, in a way, what's happening here, where, again, part of the reason I said Vancouver should trade Quinn Hughes at the start of the year was exactly what they ended up doing, which was trade him early so that you can get the return you want. Versus, again, you push a team like the Philadelphia Flyers and Cutter Gauthier to the limit. Like, Jamie Drysdale was not nearly as highly touted a prospect as Cutter Gauthier when they made that trade. Jamie Drysdale was not a like-for-like swap of Cutter Gauthier. That was not at all the Rucker McGroarty for Braden Yager. That was like the picks coming one after the other. Part of the reason I really love the NHL.
Jonathan Huberdeau, Mackenzie Weegar, and a first rounder is a pretty snazzy return.
It wasn't bad, but it was a bunch of 30-year-olds that Florida weren't going to sign anyways, right? Those guys weren't staying as Panthers.
I mean, Jonathan Huberdeau was a back-to-back 100-point player going into that. That's not small potatoes.
No, it was 30 years old and he wasn't going to sign. That was the Jonathan Huberdeau situation.
In Florida, but yeah.
That was the Huberdeau. I think Weegar was definitely one where even Calgary, when they picked up Weegar, was worried that he wasn't going to sign either. That's why they ended up throwing so much more money at Huberdeau than they needed to, or that Florida would have. Was because it was the worry about
I'm not talking about all those extra conditions. That was a very large return. That was a very good return.
I'm talking about your hand being forced. Like Matthew Tkachuk, if he was traded before everybody in the NHL knew that he was going to hold that, like everybody knew he would have not played, James. He would have been sitting there as a Calgary Flame. Let's keep that in mind, as a Calgary Flame restricted free agent sitting out of the NHL, sitting out of playing for his team. He would have sat there and done nothing because at 24 years old, he felt entitled to go where he wanted to go. Again, I would not have any problem with Dylan Larkin if his contract was up, saying, "Okay, I don't want to re-sign in Detroit. You guys move on for me." I had no problem with John Tavares. Again, he was wearing the C in New York. He was wearing the C in Long Island, and he played there for almost a whole decade. He was a 9-year pro there.
Different league.
And then
different league now.
Yeah. And that's part of the clip we just listened to. Part of the clip we just listened to is that, yeah, Elliot Friedman is talking about it being a different league. And that's kind of why that's what I'm saying in terms of the Russian parallel. We were able to talk about the Russian factor. I'm talking about the American factor being a symptom of that different league. And again, the trend we've seen over and over again in this new different league is that these are the players that refuse to sign with the teams that are entitled to them. Which is what happens under a restricted free agent, right? Like John Tavares earned his way out by playing for the team long enough to, under the collective bargaining agreement, earn his spot as an unrestricted free agent. If I'm sitting at the NHL draft table, I am avoiding players that I think are going to quit on me like the absolute plague. And I think that as we are, which is, like I'm working on my mock draft right now. Again, there aren't any players in this draft that I'm looking at with that eyebrow raised. But if I'm in those draft interviews, like that is top of my mind. Is this player? Does this player have the integrity to throw on the jersey and actually be proud of it, right? And will like you said, it's a new league. We'll see. Connor Hellebuyck and Zach Werenski both have earned their way to unrestricted free agent status, so them requesting a trade is very, very different to me. But we'll see exactly how many more Matthew Tkachuks, because I put Matthew Tkachuk and Cutter Gauthier in the same boat. We'll see how many more Matthew Tkachuks and Cutter Gauthiers we have until, again, it's like I said, like I said, I will sit here and I will just say, listen, I was right when this comes around over and over and over again, and teams get screwed over and over and over and over and over again. I think we're at the point now where it is time to start pointing this out, and it is time to start taking this into account as we're assessing prospects and players that our teams may or may not have or be interested in.
Yeah.
Larkin was Larkin was the pathway to what you just said, which is new league, right? Larkin is something indicative of that change. That's the
Right.
larger point that I'm making with Larkin. Not that Larkin or Hellebuck or Werenski don't deserve the right to call their shots. They do. They were unrestricted free agents. They will be unrestricted free agents. They have every right in the world to say, I do not want to stay here past this point. Ergo, please trade me before this point, right? Like, all the right in the world to them, all the power in the world to them. If there's an RFA next to your name, or if there's an ELC next to your name, you just don't have that. You got to earn that.
That's fair.
And if there's players unwilling to earn it, I don't want them on my team.
Yeah. Um, yeah. Speaking on the Dylan Larkin stuff, the Anaheim Ducks have reportedly been floating Mason McTavish in negotiations for a potential Dylan Larkin swap, or even to the St. Louis Blues and Robert Thomas, who's reportedly on the table for the right package, for a monster package at times in the past year or so. I think the McTavish and stuff for Robertson and other, or not Robertson, Robert Thomas and other stuff. I think that's a really nice swap. And I said Robertson because I was mentally jumping the gun. I think a Jason Robertson and stuff for Dylan Larkin and stuff swap checks a lot of other boxes. I think that's a situation in which player is happy on all accounts, and that's a situation where it's one of those match made in heaven franchise mode kind of deals where this makes so much sense for everyone. It's not what's going to happen, but it's what I could totally see happening if I penciled up a dream scenario for everyone. While we're on the Ducks, John Carlson, the free agent acquisition and a long-time capital. He had a really, really solid and productive end to the regular season. Great playoff for the 2 rounds the Anaheim Ducks were able to fight their way through. He is going to test free agency. Yeah, I would not be shocked if he is going to end up on a team close to Washington. I doubt his family wants to move far.
I would also, under the Detroit Jason Robertson umbrella, Dylan Larkin, Detroit would need a centerman.
Yeah.
They are planning on moving on from Sebastian Cossa this summer, though. I've talked a lot about how Trey Augustine and Sebastian Cossa are both, A plus, A minus goaltending prospects, right? They're both in the upper echelon of U23 goaltenders that are breaking into the league. So I've also talked a lot about how Steve Yzerman has plugged the pipeline for a lot of those young players. So maybe this is unclogging the pipeline for a guy like Trey Augustine to move up. And if they want to choose Augustine over Cossa, I wouldn't have argued either way.
Yeah, totally fair. I mean, it's one of those situations where you kind of have an embarrassment of riches right there. Like you got two of the top goalie prospects in the world. I mean, why not? Why not float one? I think the worry is just going to be, did you choose the wrong one? And it's not even going to be fully something you're responsible for. It could be how that other goalie develops differently with a different opportunity in a different system. But yeah, you just have to really hope you end up with the right guy. And if Trey Augustine's that guy, then hopefully they're in the right spot. In the meantime, they've got a solid stopgap in John Gibson, who had a fantastic end of the regular season. So there's not going to be a lot of pressure on this, whichever young goalie they choose to keep, to go in and immediately be a starter, which I think has kind of screwed up a lot of other goalie prospects in the last decade. I mean, it's just getting thrown in before you're fully ready to be the guy. It's just not something that's super easy. Do we have any other transactions we've missed? Any other rumors we've missed? I think we've been pretty thorough.
Yeah, Anaheim gave up way too much for John Carlson at the deadline. I think, yeah, I didn't love the trade at the time, and I like it even less now. Not to say that like they should have paid him a lot of money either. I just kind of thought, it's like that Mikko Rantanen thing where a lot of teams just weren't willing to trade for Mikko Rantanen without an extension in place. They should have been able to talk to John Carlson and at least got an idea whether or not there was even a chance he was going to stay. They could have used that first round pick they paid for him for somebody that stayed. I do not think Anaheim was good enough this season to justify this swap.
I completely disagree because this is a young group who needs to start actually getting playoff experience and winning right away. And they were on the brink of not making playoffs. They were floundering. And then you go and get an elite puck mover. You pay a late first rounder and a third rounder. Anaheim has an embarrassment of riches in prospects. Embarrassment of riches. They have a stupid amount of prospects. And then and then you're getting a player who was easily one of their best players for that 14 games of regular season, 14 games of playoffs, and you had all of your young guys get to see what a winner plays like and watch that guy actually have an impact in the locker room and on the ice. So I completely disagree. I would have paid that every year for the next 3 years.
Okay. I think 18th overall will fetch a significantly more valuable piece at this point. So that's I mean, neither of us are right yet. I think that remains to be seen.
Yeah, I mean, you could be one of these teams that manages assets super well in their 10-year rebuilds, or you can be the Anaheim Ducks and be a dangerous cup contender for the next decade. These guys have got experience that a first-round pick won't get you.
Yeah, it was just so brief, right? Like if he had stayed, signed team friendly to be the number 4.
But this is what you do when you try to win.
Yeah.
You swing and sometimes you miss.
Yeah.
But that miss doesn't mean it was like brutal. Like I think that return you get in the experience those guys had is worth more than anything.
Yeah, if the argument is that was the difference between making and not making the playoffs, I understand it a lot more. I didn't see it as that.
Yeah, they were in a tough spot at the time. Brutal spot. But yeah, it's I think the argument for me is primarily just about the experience these guys get. You look at that Colorado Avalanche team who they made the second round. They made the second round in 2019, one of those years. Yeah, 2019. And they ended up beating the Calgary Flames and playing against the San Jose Sharks. That experience they had in that quick little playoff run primed them for competing year in, year out for the next decade.
Okay, so we're at just shy of an hour 39. James and I like to keep them 100 minutes or less on this show. So, James, I will give you the option here. We will, hopefully, I want to do a podcast next week because we have the NHL draft coming up. I am around Monday to Saturday next week. So let's go and let's park Hockey Night in Canada for our draft episode. What do you think?
Yeah, we can do that for sure.
Okay. Yeah, there's some Hockey Night in Canada news, but I definitely know myself, and I think if we started going on this, I would just start yapping, and this would turn into a 2-hour and 15-minute episode, and that isn't what we want right now. So let's put the Hockey Night in Canada thing in the back pocket. Save for that, that is all I felt we missed and wanted to catch up on. Is there anything else?
You watching any shows and movies? I'm really, really going hard on Your Friends and Neighbors, the Apple TV show with John Hamm. I'm enjoying that one a lot right now. It's a little bit wild, it's a little bit zany, but it's believable, and I'm thoroughly enjoying that. It's a real good watch.
I watched The Long Walk last night. Have you ever seen it?
I've watched the trailer for it a couple times.
Yeah, very, very, again, I know your bar's maybe a little bit higher. I'll give it a 70 out of 100.
Okay.
It was
On
very
my
solid.
scale, that's like a 58.
Yeah, probably. Psychological thriller. A lot of the allegories were so on the nose that I was just laughing and like, oh my god, I'd write this movie, which, like respect, but at the same time, it's like, okay, this is so on the nose, like some of the allegories being made in that movie. However, I also think those allegories are important to consider, especially as you consider that this is set in the United States. Make some of those allegories significantly more relevant than they are to us here.
Fair play, fair play. I'll definitely I'll consider giving it a look. I've got a lot of movies on my list right now, so it's hard to add things to it right now, and I feel like there's so much coming out in the this back half of 2026 that I really want to watch. So it's difficult. I'm definitely gonna go see a good handful of movies this summer. So
Yeah, I'm literally looking at my IMDb right now. My watch list has 222 items on it. That's just where I'm at. Oh, October 9th, 2026, we've already talked about it. Aaron Sorkin's The Social Reckoning is going to be an absolute dime of a movie. I'm so excited for that. I'm more excited for that than The Odyssey with Christopher Nolan behind that one.
I'm not gonna pit them against each other. I'm extremely excited for both. I enjoy a period piece epic more than just about any other format of movie, so it's hard to knock that one off its pedestal for me.
Yeah. I also know how into Aaron Sorkin you are, so we got
Oh yeah,
quite a few.
100%. Yeah, definitely. So we thank all you guys for listening. It's been a fun one. Without further ado, let's roll that outro. Thanks, guys.